Oof, problematic new polling numbers out this morning for President Biden. The CNN poll finds his approval rating sinking to just 39%. Democrats on notice as the 2024 race for the White House heats up. Among voters' concerns, Biden's age. They're worried about his mental and physical competence, along with how well he understands the concerns of Americans. Another big issue, the economy. 58% say Biden's policies have made economic conditions worse.
You noted the 39% approval rating means hovering down there in that range since the spring. Take a look at this, Sarah, how that stacks up to his modern day predecessors at this stage in their presidency. So Biden is sort of hanging in this area with Trump and Carter. Just to note, both of those folks lost their reelection efforts when they were running for reelection.
Within the margin of error, no clear leader. Donald Trump, 47%, Joe Biden, 46%. They're basically in a statistical tie. But what I will note was there was not a single poll conducted by CNN during the entire 2020 cycle in which Donald Trump got a higher share of the vote than Joe Biden did. So this is a vastly different picture from what we saw 4 years ago.
That is some very interesting context in all of this. What it means, we will see.
That's some very interesting context. Oh, wow. Did you hear the first anchor? Oof. Oof. That was even on Twitter. I saw some of the headlines on Twitter. Oof. I mean, what do you say to that polling? I mean, something's happening here, gang. Even CNN can't hide it. And it's not just CNN. Wait until you see what the ultra woke leftists over at MSNBC are freaking out over. It's going to blow your mind. Maybe, you know, they all know that Biden always underperforms his polling. His polling historically shows him, you know, a 20-point lead or that 14-point lead, that pathetic polling in Wisconsin back in 2020. And then he barely squeaks by with a single percentage point. And then a federal judge rules 2 freaking years later that all those votes, those mail-in ballots, were illegal anyway. They know how ominous these polls are. They know these abysmal polls are actually overestimating Biden's support. Bike riding Biden, the incontinent in chief, is literally imploding right before our very eyes. And the legacy media is beginning to recognize that their worst nightmare, their horror of all horrors, is about to come true. The return of the king is nigh. Greetings, everyone. It is Live Stream Friday. I am your host, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. If you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. We are live both on YouTube and Rumble. Super chats and super stickers are up. Send me your questions. I will answer them in due course. As you see, the polls continue to be a disaster for Biden. I mean, we're talking Jimmy Carter, Walter Mondale levels here. It's even the New York Times is sounding the alarm. They're comparing Biden right now literally to Mondale. I mean, Biden's got Mondale level of support. They're in a brace for impact mode of being here, gang. We're going to see how they're doing absolutely everything they can to begin to help their dwindling audience cope with this. And we're going to see precisely why, in the end, when the whole of this establishment crumbles, and it will crumble, the woke leftists at CNN and MSNBC will only have themselves to blame. We're going to see exactly why. All that and more super chats and super stickers are up. Send me your questions. Before we do anything else, gang, if you have not yet secured the deed to your home, you need to click on that link below right now and protect yourself and your loved ones. I was absolutely shocked when I found how easy it was to access the deed to my house, and not just access it, but actually change it. The deed to your home is the only document that proves you own it. But the problem is that the deeds to all our homes are now online, and criminals are free to find your deed, forge your signature, refile as the new owner of your home, take out tons of loans using your home's equity, and then stick you with all the debt. Now, that's where our good friends over at Home Title Lock come in. Gang, they're amazing. Home Title Lock gives you the peace of mind that the deed to your home is absolutely and completely protected. Click on that link below right now and use promo code Turley Talks. Then all you got to do is just enter your address for your no obligation home title scan to see if you've already been a victim of deed theft. That's $100 value, absolutely totally free with my promo code Turley Talks. Gang, don't wait for the worst to happen only to regret you didn't do something about it when you could have. Do what I've done. Do what countless patriots have done. Click on that link below right now and secure your home today. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. As you can see in the from the opening montage, CNN is shell-shocked. I mean, they're experiencing nothing less than a collective consciousness, collective concussion. They're looking at the poll numbers and they're seeing Biden basically politically collapse. It's like the fall of the Berlin Wall, right? Just one day, everyone in Europe woke up and it began imploding right before their very eyes. Not really any warning. It was just its time. It was its terminus. It got too old and feeble. And it just became steadily and increasingly so unpopular that it was unable to withstand the hammers of mass resentment. Poll after poll after poll over these last 2 weeks, post mugshot weeks, mind you, all show the exact same thing. They all show Biden imploding and Trump surging. I mean, just look at this. The latest premise data poll has Trump trouncing Biden by 6 points, 44-38. The latest echelon poll, again, another poll that Trump has never led before, like the CNN polling, has Trump up by 1, 46-45. The latest McLaughlin poll has Trump beating Biden by 4, 47-43. And in the battleground states, Trump is crushing Biden by almost 10 points, 49-41. The latest YouGov poll has Trump beating Biden by 1, 44-43. And keep in mind, Trump has never led a YouGov poll. In fact, the last YouGov poll before the 2020 election had Biden winning by 10. The latest Emerson poll, Trump is up by 2, 46-44. And he's up by 5 if Cornel West, the Green Party candidate, is factored in, which he will be. Again, Trump never led an Emerson poll. Emerson had Biden winning by 5 the day before the 2020 election. The Schoen-Cooperman poll, this is a Democrat poll by Doug Schoen, Democrat strategist. He has Trump up by 1, 45-44. And Schoen-Cooperman also asked voters how they felt retrospectively about Trump in terms of an approval rating. And they gave Trump a 52% overall approval rating for his presidency. Biden's dwindled to just 44%. And to bring it all home for you here, just to show you what's really happening, in the RCP, the Real Clear Politics aggregate polling that averages out all the polls that have been taken out over the last several months, Biden and Trump right now are statistically tied. It's Biden up by 0.4%. And the reason why that's so significant is because the day before the 2020 election, this very same RCP aggregate had Biden up by over 7 points. And of course, true to form, on November 3rd, even with all of the shenanigans, Biden vastly underperformed that number. He only got half of that. And so the legacy media is doing what they can to help their rapidly dwindling audience cope with these polls. Now, I kid you not, this is an actual headline from MSNBC. Take a look at this. Look at that. How not to have a psychic meltdown when you see the new Trump-Biden poll numbers. That's a real MSNBC headline from just a couple of days back. That's not from the Babylon Bee. That's a real headline saying the quiet part out loud, where the woke activists at MSNBC are trying to help assuage their rapidly dwindling audience. How not to have a psychic meltdown when you see the new Trump-Biden poll numbers. Now, the article goes on to highlight the latest Wall Street Journal poll that was released over the Labor Day weekend. This is the poll that freaked out Donna Brazile and George Stephanopoulos over at ABC, right? If you saw that last Sunday, this week with George Stephanopoulos. Stephanopoulos called this poll, this Wall Street Journal poll, absolutely shocking. The poll showed Trump and Biden tied at 46 apiece. But what they also recognized, again, was that the same Wall Street Journal poll, same methodology, same sampling, you name it, for their last poll before the 2020 election had Biden up by 10, by double digits. So we're seeing a double-digit swing towards Trump. And what makes it even worse is that this was a poll that was taken over the course of the week after his mugshot. And it went downhill from there. The Wall Street Journal poll, like the CNN poll, found that 75% of voters, 3 and 4, think Biden's too old to be president. 75% think Biden's too old and he needs to bow out. And guess what? That includes 69% of Democrats. 7 in 10 Democrats agree Biden's too old and we need to find someone else. And 60% of all voters believe Biden is cognitively deficient. He is not mentally fit for this job. Again, that's a presidency, again, barring shenanigans, that's a presidency that's beyond repair. That's why he's getting Mondale level support. This is a presidency that is in tatters. When a super majority of voters thinks you're too old and too senile to be president, you're done. You're not getting reelected. It was an utterly devastating poll, as evidenced by the MSNBC headline. And so here's what this... You want to hear what they said? You want to hear what a headline that says how to cope, right? That's trying to help their dwindling audience on how to cope, how to not freak out, how to not have a psychic meltdown when you see these poll numbers. Here's what they write. This is from the MSNBC article here. Quote, in the Wall Street Journal's latest poll of the 2024 election, President Biden and former President Donald Trump are locked 46% each. Other recent polls, as we're showing you, have shown essentially the same thing. While there will be many twists and turns before next November, at this point, the race is a toss-up. If that makes you feel like your country has gone mad, you're not alone. This is not a feeling we talk much about. While political reporters obsess over the anger and resentments felt by blue-collar white men in Rust Belt diners, liberals' emotions are seldom considered worthy of the same kind of exploration. What freaking planet is this moron living on? I mean, seriously. What is he? We're allowing men to compete in women's sports, in female sports, so as to not endanger their fragile freaking feelings. But I digress. Even those who feel this way know it's an irrational way to approach politics. I could offer you a lengthy and sober explanation of why a Trump-Biden election will be so close. I can give you chapter and verse to detail why it is that a former president who faces 4 separate criminal indictments, who attempted to overturn a lawful, pristine Democratic election, who oozes corruption and dishonesty, and who has made clear his intention to practically dismantle the American system of democracy as soon as he gets the chance, is nearly an even bet to take back the White House. I can tell you all that calmly and reason. I don't know what happened to my voice in the process. I can tell you all that. See, I'm having the psychic meltdown. I can tell you all that calmly and reasonably. I've done so many times when asked by friends, relatives, and interviewers. I've written so many articles about the nature of Trump's appeal that I lost count long ago. Yet part of me looks at these polls and wants to respond, not with calm and reason, but with a blood-curdling scream of rage, or at least with a kind of frustration bordering on despair that usually prompts those questions in the first place. You guys, whenever I put as my title, liberals panic over blah, 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 I'm not kidding. I'm not making up. That's not wishful thinking. They're flipping out, gang. Some details of the primary race may have been unexpected, like Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' swift fall. But Trump's glide to the nomination is no surprise at all. Anyone who pays close attention to politics by now has a PhD in Trumpology, gained over years of watching and considering the man himself, the carnival roadshow of his devoted cultists, and the more casual supporters who keep him atop his party. We all saw this coming. But when you step back for a moment, the whole picture can seem even worse than it was, like a horror movie when the protagonist wakes from her nightmare only to realize she's still in her nightmare. You know, this guy keeps using this word she and her. You know, I'm curious if anyone over at MSNBC actually knows what a woman is. They have yet to actually provide a definition. They keep using the word, but well, alas, again, I digress. My informal canvas of liberal friends reveals that this feeling, something like incredulous despair verging on panic, is not unusual. Well, we tamp it down and joke about it, but it never disappears. Tens of millions of Americans are fine with Trump's brand of revanchist authoritarianism and even yearn for it. Tens of millions more see him as just one choice among many. Maybe they'll vote for him again if the price of gas goes up, i.e. morons. As infuriating as it is to admit the electorate may choose another Trump term, the only answer may be to hold on to that truth. Rejecting reality, coming from someone who doesn't know what a woman is, rejecting reality only replicates Republicans' errors that led to Trump's rise. Exercise your reason, stay informed, understand what's happening in all its detail. But at those times when you want to scream in fear and anger, don't think you're being foolish or irrational. It just means you can see what's in front of you. Thank you. Thank you very much. My dramatic reading of liberal angst and panic. Look, gang, as you can see, you could hear it for yourself. You could hear it in the transcribed words where they're losing it. I mean, these woke activists disguised as journalists are absolutely beside themselves. This wasn't supposed to happen. I mean, you can hear it in the phraseology here. This was not supposed to happen. In their warped, woke world, there is no frame of reference that can possibly account and explain this fully. This person says, oh, well, we can explain it here or there. But no, that explanation smacks against the sensibility, the inclination of their woke mind. Trump today, for them, this is the inexplicable thing. Trump today, after 4 indictments, 2 impeachments, and a 24/7 propaganda blitz by the legacy media, unrelenting, 7 years straight, Trump today is in a better position to win 2024 than he ever was in 2016 or 2020. Even CNN is admitting this. And they have literally no idea what to do. Trump is polling across the board better than he has ever polled before. Trump is surging in popularity with literally every single category of voter in a way he simply never has before. Men and women, evangelical and non-evangelical, white and non-white, college grad and non-college grad, urban and suburban, above 100,000, under 100,000 a year. With every indictment, with every passing day, Trump is literally getting stronger. And we're going to see exactly how and why the legacy media, in the end, only have themselves to blame for it. But first, gang, you know how you could really stick it to the woke left? It's just by clicking on that link below and getting your very own set of these collectible limited supply Trump cards. Patriots played their anti-globalist Trump card against the left in 2016, and we're getting ready to play it again in 2024. So what better way to show your support for Trump's reelection than with these 5 collectible pieces of Trump art? These cards have a limited supply, so don't wait. Only 2,500 sets of these cards are set to be made, and they all come with a certificate of authenticity verifying you own an original set. These make great gifts for any MAGA patriot in your life. And if you buy 2 sets, you also get a bonus gold Trump 2024 card absolutely free. These physical cards are high quality, made in America, and highly collectible. But again, there's only a limited supply, so don't wait. By the time you remember, you're going to forget. They're going to be gone. So click on that link below right now and get your Trump cards today. All right, gang. So technically speaking, what's happening here, the fundamental reason why Trump is doing so well in the polls is that Trump is crushing it with voter groups that overwhelmingly went with Biden in 2020, or Hillary for that matter in 2016. In other words, and this is key for your analysis here of understanding what's going on, Trump is vastly overperforming among voter groups that Republicans always underperform with. Trump is overperforming with voter groups that Republicans always underperform with. Rich Barris of the People's Pundit, I have a wonderful interview with him this weekend coming up. He was way ahead of the curve on this. He noticed this in his polling months back. He's been way ahead of the curve. And by the way, gang, if you have any questions, just throw them in the not the chat there. I'm sorry. Throw it into the super sticker and super chats. I will answer them in due course. But Rich recognized that Trump won, say, with 12% of the black vote in 2020, which is a historic high for the Republican candidate. But according to Rich, Trump's polling among blacks right now is an astonishing 19%. Black voters are literally rushing to Trump in ways they have not done in over 40 years for any Republican candidate. And not only that, he found that the voter intensity among black voters for Trump is off the charts. Upwards of 40% of these Trump-supporting black voters, 37% specifically, would either write in Trump's name on the ballot if he's not the nominee, or they wouldn't vote. They wouldn't vote at all. 40%. I mean, that's an insane level of voter enthusiasm. And it's not just Rich's polling. Look at this from Fox News. Trump's polling 20% among black voters. Again, this is unprecedented. Biden's collapsed 30 points from 91% support in 2020 to just 61% support today. Again, this among the Democrats' historically most loyal voting constituency. And the Democratic pundits that comprise the legacy media are openly sounding the alarm on this. The New York Times just published a panicked piece. And get this, their analysis has concluded that Biden's polling numbers among black and Hispanic Democrats are the worst since Walter Mondale's presidential debacle in 1984. This is what we're talking about, Mondale level support. Democrat analysts have not seen this low a support for Democratic presidential candidate among black and Latino voters since Mondale. Now, gang, this is a trend that we on this channel have been following with for months now. The non-white working class are defecting away from Biden in record numbers, and they're all going to Trump, not to Republicans. That's an important caveat. They're not flocking to the Republicans. They're flocking to Trump. Trump has effectively severed what was once a 70-point lead among this constituency for Barack Obama. Obama had a 70-point margin with non-white working class voters. Now Biden has just a 10-point margin among that same demographic. But Biden simply can't win with margins that low among constituents that are absolutely necessary for Democrat election victories. Now, the reason why this is happening, I think, is absolutely fascinating. The reason why Democrats are losing more and more these disaffected non-white voters, I would argue, goes way beyond economics, right? Like that panicked MSNBC article alluded to. Oh, the gas prices are too high. No, they could deal with high gas prices if they really supported a candidate. It's not because of that. It's fundamentally, I would argue, because the Democratic Party is more and more being seen by more and more voters, particularly minority voters, as the party of the establishment. It's the party of the man. It's the party of special interests and donors and billionaires and bureaucrats who collectively rule for their own benefit at the expense of the benefit of the people. And there's simply never been a time when so many felt so alienated from their public institutions. A recent Gallup survey found that trust in our nation's fundamental institutions, from our federal government to our legacy news media, to our law enforcement, to our elections, is at an all-time low. And it's one of the lowest for any nation in the world. And the Democrats are increasingly being seen as the party of that establishment. And Trump, more than anyone else, exposed the Democrat Party to be what it truly is. What happened in 2016 is Trump effectively redefined American politics away from a Republican versus Democrat divide, right? That's been the case over the last several decades, defining every single presidential race. He transformed the traditional Republican versus Democrat divide. So you get your Republican constituencies over here and your Democrat constituency over there. You line them all up. You try to convince as much of the independent vote as possible. And then whoever convinces most of the independent vote wins. Trump transformed that. Trump turned that around. It wasn't Republican versus Democrat anymore, as we're finding out increasingly with all the rhino Republicans that are doing everything they can to get rid of Trump. It's no longer Republican versus Democrat. What did he do? He realigned politics around the people versus the political class, the ruled versus the corrupt rulers, the voters versus the establishment. That's what Drain the Swamp is all about. And this is so essential to get to understand Trump's growing appeal, particularly among the non-white working class. Trump effectively transformed American politics into a formal animosity between the people versus a corrupt establishment. And what we're finding is that more and more and more voters are aligning themselves with that new political paradigm shift. What Trump did is he cast himself as the champion of the people, as over and against the corrupt political class, with the result that every time he gets impeached when in office, or every time he gets indicted when out of office, he looks to be the target of the permanent political class's diabolical corruption. In other words, every time the establishment looks like they're trying to take Trump out, they only confirm both the Trumpian realignment of politics around people versus the permanent political class, and Trump's unparalleled position as the champion of the people, as over and against that corrupt political class. And the brilliance of what Trump has done is he's redefined the Democratic Party as the party of that corruption. Now, we all know it's wider than that. It's the establishment. I think he's done that. That's why these non-white working class voters are not running over to the Republicans. They're running over to Trump because they see that. They've experienced that. They've experienced those kind of social inequities that Trump is now, as it were, mainstreaming among all people versus this oligarchical aristocracy that rules and controls for their own benefit at the expense of everyone else. And of course, Trump's not alone in this. This scenario of that permanent corrupt political class trying to persecute the champion of the people plays itself out time and time again with astonishing political victories. Bibi Netanyahu in Israel, Lula in Brazil, Khan in Pakistan, Nelson Mandela in South Africa. Politicians who effectively cast themselves as the champion of the people versus a corrupt, persecuting political class tend to grow in popularity the more they're publicly persecuted. I think it is that very predictable pattern that's operative here. That's exactly what we're seeing play out right before our very eyes. It explains why Trump's polls are expanding and growing and surging. It explains why disaffected voters who have felt disaffectively disenfranchised from our social institutions and the permanent political class are so attracted to Trump. And it shows why the Democratic Party and Biden in particular are imploding in support. When all is said and done, when this colossal web of corporate and political corruption finally comes tumbling down, the irony in all of this is that the very media that pushed the Democratic Party on us, the very media that pushed their corruption as somehow pristine, the very media that did everything they could to hide and cover up the shenanigans around 2020, the very media that did everything they could to hide Hunter Biden and Joe Biden's radical corruption, the very media that's done everything they possibly can to themselves persecute Trump. Ironically, when this political corruption finally comes tumbling down, and it will, ironically, woke leftists at CNN and MSNBC will only have themselves to blame for it. Over to you, gang. As Josh, our moderator, assembles your questions, we got our own patriot to support here. Make sure to click on that link below and show your support for the one and the only Mike Lindell by treating yourself to one of Mike's brand new pillows. He's done the impossible, gang. Mike has taken what was already one of the most comfortable pillows on the market and made it even better. That's right. My Pillow 2.0 is here with Mike's new cooling fabric technology combined with his original My Pillow. Phil, this is truly the most comfortable pillow out there. It's always cool to the touch and provides some of the best neck support I have ever experienced in a pillow, leading to some pretty incredible sleep. For a limited time, Mike is providing over $150 off his new My Pillow if you use code Turley. That's right. MyPillow.com/Turley will get you massive savings on a set of 4 My Pillow 2.0s. Mike is a true patriot. He's a friend of the show and a bona fide American entrepreneur. It's really an amazing product, so don't wait. I use it every night. I love it. Mike told me these new pillows are selling like hotcakes, and the offer will not last forever. So click on that link in my description below and use code Turley to get My Pillow 2.0 today. All right, Josh, what do we got here? Let me get a little sip of Java. Mitchell, good to see you, my friend. What do you think of the DOJ going after political pundits? And do you think Ben Shapiro's next? Yeah, the fellow works with Alex Jones. Yeah, I mean, again, they're pushing. So this is part of the weaponization of the legal system. The Republicans are doing effing nothing about it because they're behind it when all is said and done. And at some point, the Democrats are going to cross the line, and it's going to be too much. I mean, they've already indicated there's already been some signs that they've gone too far. The LA district attorney, who was saying that they were thinking of indicting or pressing charges against Greg Abbott, Texas Governor Greg Abbott. You saw immediate pushback against him. Whoa. We'll let you take out Trump, but no, and his surrogates, but nobody else. So, there is a limit, But they are actively testing those limits. They want to see how far they can go. This is the joke about the whole MSNBC article. All they do is project on us the very things that they're doing. They're the authoritarians. They're the ones who are doing everything they possibly can to cancel democracy. It's beyond insanity. So anyway, I will have to see how it plays out. It's very, very, very scary for sure. USA 2022. Hearing some weird water sounds going up above me here. USA 2022. Thank you for the gift, my friend. I am concerned that while many Democrats disapprove of Biden's job performance, they will vote for him anyway. That's true. Yep. How likely is it that not enough Dems will vote for Trump to get him? How likely is that not enough Dems will vote for Trump to get him over the finish line? Got it. All right. I was reading it wrong. So that's where voter enthusiasm comes in. And voter enthusiasm is very, very low right now for the Democrats, extremely low. And I don't know if there's anything Biden can do to try to prop it up. We'll have to see. Cornel West is absolutely panicking them. All the polls show he's consistently siphoning off 5% of the vote from Biden. That's going to kill him. That's going to destroy him. So again, you don't even need Democrats not voting. You just need them. You need enough of the left to vote a different way. And then the no parties label or no labels party that Joe Manchin may be running on. That's terrifying them as well. The MAGA vote is solid. That's going to happen. And then enough Republicans are going to be behind that. That's solid. Trump. This is why it's Trump or bust, as Rich Barris says. That's why it's Trump or bust. There's nobody else who can navigate all the different craziness that's going on right now. So I don't have specific numbers there, but certainly the calculus is working itself out that in such a way that's really, really frightening the political class. I mean, because just the idea of Trump, and now you even have Bobby Kennedy coming out saying, they're rigging the primaries. I'm not getting a fair hearing here. I may have to look elsewhere. I may have to go somewhere else in order to find a fair election, i.e. independent, or maybe even joining up with Trump. So it's fascinating to watch how this is going to play out. Thank you, USA 2022. Live freedom, my friend. Morning, Dr. Steve. I enjoy the information you bring. Do you think Hawaii would cause fire that Biden neglecting the people? It'd be it certainly didn't help Biden. That's for sure. And Hawaiians are pissed. They are absolutely pissed. So we'll have to see. What is it? Lahaina. I'm forgetting the exact name. What took place in Lahaina, if I recall, is just absolutely inexcusable in terms of how it happened. All the Democrat incompetent idiots behind it. And then just Biden taking 2 weeks to finally come out because he was too busy vacationing. I mean, we'll see. I wouldn't put my mortgage on it, but we'll see. I don't even know how active the Republican Party is out there. But then again, Tulsi Gabbard came from Hawaii, and if her populist sentiments are representative of a very, very large segment of that population, we may have something astonishing. Again, this is where RFK Jr. becomes very significant in terms of a possible, Trump Kennedy ticket. Very, very fascinating. T-Man 2217, thank you for the gift. Dump the chump, vote for Trump. Dude, that's a new shirt, man. Dump the chump, vote for Trump. I love it. Trump 2024. I just hope it's not too early to start counting chickens yet. Granted, absolutely. I think it's been recorded what happens when victory is declared too early. T-Man 2217 gives us a very, very important reminder. Remember, gang, we're going into 2024 with all bets off. I mean, Steve Bannon's been talking about this. It's going to be absolute total warfare at every level. And they're going to pull out all the stops to stop Trump. All right. So, I mean, we may wake up the next morning on 2024 seeing another election, all these election shenanigans happening. I mean, you know that. We're going in knowing that. What we also know is the winds are at our backs. The world is moving in our direction. The population is moving in our direction. So they may thwart us in 2024, just like they would have thwarted the Soviet tanks, thwarted the uprising in Hungary, and then the Poland, and then in Czechoslovakia. But eventually the Berlin Wall falls. It just gets hit so hard, so many times. Eventually it falls. And that's what we got to do. So absolutely, T-Man, no presumption here. No question. Brooks Kelly, thank you for the gift. Have you seen what Judge Joe Brown said about the Trump indictments to Jesse Lee Peterson? Yes. Very interesting legal points made about how wrong they are. I haven't looked at the legal points per se. I've just seen the headlines, and I've seen a couple of his clips from the interview. And of course, Jesse Lee Peterson's so awesome. So yeah, Judge Joe Brown just thinks this thing is a joke, beyond a joke from what I'm seeing. And again, it's indicative of this growing mass populace, particularly black male sentiment that says, you know what? It's not Democrats versus Republicans anymore. It really is people versus the political class. Now, they always thought that. They thought Republicans were the establishment party and the Democrats were the vote to be able to push back against the establishment. But Trump is turning all that upside down. And they're not seeing so much the Republicans as the non-establishment party. Certainly they're not at this point. They're thoroughly in line with the uniparty. But Trump is a defender, a fighter for them. They see that. And so I think his Judge Joe Brown sentiments are at least reflective of that wider trend. And yes, I love the guy and love Jesse Lee. Thanks, Brooks. Mitchell, do you think they'll remove him from the ballot in Colorado? Well, they're going to try. They're going to try these shenanigans. It's already getting shot down in the courts. So you had that shot down in the Florida court. You had in New Hampshire, I think the Secretary of State there, ironically Republican, was playing around with the idea that got shut down real fast by the powers that be. Colorado probably try it. But I don't expect Trump to win Colorado. Colorado is very, very blue at this point, a weird kind of libertarian blue. But the Supreme Court could probably step in and knock that down. No constitutional scholar worth their salt even takes this 14th Amendment argument remotely seriously. I mean, it's called impeachment. That's how you do it, and didn't happen. You can't just say I'm going to come up with some kind of mythical court of opinion that suddenly finds you guilty of an insurrection that no actual court ever has, and that's enough to take you off the ballot. I mean, then you could take a person off the ballot. I mean, we could say Joe Biden's guilty of insurrection, take him off all the red state ballots. But of course, Republicans don't fight because they're controlled opposition, right, by their donor class, who are pretty much all Democrats anyway. Thanks, Mitchell. Ryan Patrick, thank you for the gift, sir. The RNC is a relic. Amen. That's well put. That's well put. They're a relic. They are a relic. And I don't think you mean the mystical, the sacred kind. I mean, they're ruins. Maybe is a shattered visage. The GOP is a relic. Conservatives need a new era of communicators, messengers, marketers. This new era Conservative Party needs to incubate strong outsider leaders at all levels of our government. I mean, I think what you just said is absolutely spot on. I think it is the politics of the future. The politics that we're seeing emerge all over the world is one of the people versus the political class. Look at what they've done in El Salvador with Nayib Bukele. I mean, El Salvador was ruled for decades by an oligarchy, a corrupt oligarchy that our government kept in power. Bukele broke through it as a total outsider. He was the mayor of El Salvador, but still a young guy in his early 30s, just came out of nowhere. Very, very charismatic, very of the people. And now he's knocked their crime rates down by, 98%, something akin to that, by basically taking all the gangs that were terrorizing the population, that the oligarchs kept in place. Sound familiar? He threw them all in prison. I think upwards of 70,000 people have been arrested and thrown into the super prison, maximum prison. And now he has an approval rating of 90%. This is what we're seeing happening in Argentina right now. And to a certain extent, Guatemala as well. Mexico even, I mean, he's a populist leftist leader, but it's the same kind of sentiment. It's the people versus permanent political class. And then globally with the BRICS nations, it's a multipolar world versus this corrupt globalist unipolar world. So it's the same pattern, fractal pattern that you're just seeing at micro, meso, macro, and mega levels. So I think you're absolutely right, Ryan. You're thinking about the politics of the future, and that's where we're going. Again, the Mitch McConnells are just going to. I mean, they talk about a living relic. They are going to thwart this as much as they can, but let's just say time ain't on their side. Thank you, Ryan. Charles Turner Jr., my friend, good to see you. Thank you for the gift. As always, you mentioned how President Trump is the first Republican candidate to win over 300 electoral votes since Bush 41 won 426 in 1988. Do you think a Reagan 1984 landslide could be possible? Not at this point, Charles. I don't see it. Not with California. As I understand, California's demographics has now changed. It's changed. It's about 90% coastal metropolitan populations. It's rural populations basically been decimated. Just too many people have left. They've gone to California, they've gone to Arizona, they've gone to Idaho, or they've gone up north, Oregon, Washington. Just too many people have left. So its politics now are just totally dominated, at least in terms of statewide politics, totally dominated by the coastal elite vote. So I don't see California going red anytime soon. Again, it's going to change when you have a cosmopolitan paradigm shift, very much like what you're seeing in a lot of the cities in Europe, like Verona, for example, which is a pro-life city. I saw it myself personally. It's formally a pro-life. The city council passed a pro-life resolution there. So I mean, you're going to see, places, cities generally are more liberal. They're more cosmopolitan, leftist. But you could start seeing them turn more rightist, like we're seeing in Europe, and when that happens, then California will change, or California might split apart. We might say they may want to just secede, because there's very powerful secessionist sentiments on the left as well as right. So no, I don't see a plus 400 coming, but definitely a plus 300 with Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona in play. Definitely Georgia, definitely a post 300 again. So thanks, Charles. Bearded Talk, thank you, my friend. Is ballet box in play for a Democrat in swing states or blue counties post indictments? No Zuck box this time. Oh, ballot box. I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Is ballot box in play for Democrats in swing states or blue counties post indictment? No Zuck box this time. Any plan to stop the steal? So Bearded Talk, yeah. And thank you for the gift. So again, so they're going to try anything and everything they possibly can. They always come up with something new that catches the Republicans off guard, because again, the Republicans are donor class controlled, and the donor class is basically Democrats. So they're controlled opposition. So Ronna McDaniel will be the last one to the party, for example, the head of the RNC. She's a loser. She was meant to be a loser. That's why she was put in her position, is to lose. So we're doing this on our own. We're not doing this with the Republicans. That said, what we seem to have a model from Southern California called the SoCal ballot harvesting strategy, where Republicans have been able to win in Democrat +4 districts in 2 elections in a row. So California Republicans got absolutely slaughtered in 2018, the first year that California made ballot harvesting legal. So they got slaughtered. Then in 2020, what they did, particularly in Southern California, is they instituted a mass get out the vote campaign in evangelical churches where they harvested ballots from voters that vote on average 80% Republican. But the problem is only 50% of them were coming out to vote. So by going to the churches, ballot harvesting there, they turned an 80% Republican vote that only comes out about 50%. They turned it to basically 90% turnout. And they've been able to win 2020. And remember, we almost took the House in 2020, largely because of all of these Southern California seats that were flipping blue to red. And then Democrats said, it was just a fluke, whatever. We did it again in 2022. The reason why we have the House right now is largely because of this strategy in Southern California, because it was so successful. As a matter of fact, the one who finally got, 218 or 217, that 218th seat was someone from California, a representative from California. So all of that's to say we have a ballot harvesting model that works. And if it gets duplicated throughout Maricopa County, if it gets duplicated throughout Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, the result could be wonderful because, again, we have the numbers. We have the legit numbers there. So Zuckbucks, I don't think we're going to see that as much. That got pushed back. You had a lot of judges come in, like in Wisconsin. They had blatantly unconstitutional, given Wisconsin Constitution, blatantly unconstitutional mail-in ballot practices, as we just got the ruling in from the Arizona judge. Where is he in? I forget the county, but the Arizona judge who just basically declared the mail-in voting procedures, the counting, the signature match verification procedure as illegal as practiced in 2020 and 2022, which is exactly what Kari Lake has been arguing all this time. So very, very exciting there. So they're going to have a harder time. That's why I'm not worried about mask mandates, because I think the pushback is going to be too great. Even Tucker Carlson said that. And I'm not as worried about shenanigans as the polls, though 2022, like in Maricopa County, showed it could still happen even in broad daylight. But you needed the Republicans to play along with that like they did. And hopefully the pressure against the Republicans will be enough that they won't lay aside. But if they do, then it's 100% us. We got to make sure our turnout is so massive that it far exceeds any margin of fraud. Thank you, Bearded Talk. JRG Projects. Oh, thank you for the gift, JRG. With C-19 not working and voter fraud being uncovered daily in Arizona and Michigan, World War III is all the left has. COVID-19. During wartime, the Russian hoax will go into overdrive. Only this time, Biden and his puppets will have wartime powers, i.e. the Patriot Act. So JRG Projects is saying something that has been echoed by Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is very, very worried about a hot war in Russia precisely because they played every other card and they have literally no other option outside of just stopping all elections, which, again, I wouldn't put past them. Evil people do evil things. So yes, that we're all concerned about a hot war. I pray every morning for peace in Ukraine. The only good news for me in that is that because Vladimir Putin is so cool-headed. So, I mean, you're not going to get that from Piers Morgan. You're not going to get that from the lunatics who buy into, Pentagon and NATO talking points, CIA talking points. But Putin is an incredibly level-headed leader, and he has been very sober, very, very stubbornly reserved in this conflict, precisely so as not to escalate it. And he's just been grinding down the Ukrainian army day by day by day, and by extension, NATO technology and weaponry day by day in this meat grinder where they're just slowly being slaughtered to oblivion. And I just think that cooler head, that calmer head who sees the world much more rightly will prevail. That's my hope. That's the only good I see in that. Otherwise, no, I think neocons would start World War III tomorrow if they could. Again, the pushback to that too is it could be that ironically would be the last stand for them, because the American public simply cannot accept, and they know this too. So hopefully that's part of the reason that's keeping them from doing it. But the American public just simply cannot stand. They could not stomach casualty numbers that would come from a hot war with Russia. They couldn't stomach it. Russia would come at us with everything they got. The numbers of casualty make Vietnam look like a cakewalk. So that's the only, again, so there's two things. It is Putin's cool-headedness and strategic savvy, and the fact that the elites know that we cannot stomach the casualties that would happen in a hot war with either Russia or China. Hence why they're using Ukrainians. They're trying to do their ghoulish work by fighting to the last Ukrainian, giving them NATO weaponry and technology. But apparently, the theory, and George Soros wrote about this, the theory is that he wrote about this in 1993, that Eastern Europeans they can stomach mass casualties just because of their history, but tragic history. Thank you, JRG. Very, very good observation. Azriel, first of his name, didn't vote 2016, voted Trump 2020, will vote 2024. God bless you, Azriel. Yeah, I think that's, you have a very angelic name. I think that's exactly, I think that's the sentiment of many. They sat out in 2016. They didn't quite know what to make of it. Voted Trump in 2020. I know of people who did that. In 2016, they didn't trust Trump. They still thought Trump was a Democrat plant. Haha. Right. And that Cruz was the real conservative. Right. Then they voted Trump 2020 because they were very happy with, his record. And now already are all in with 2024. All the shenanigans only confirmed that they were right. So I think you're filling out a pattern that a lot of people would corroborate. Absolutely. Thank you, Azrael. Bridget Denise, thank you so much, Bridget. Thank you for the gift. Good to hear from you. Rock Dog, thank you for the gift, as always, my friends. Dr. Steve, do you think that another cause of potatoes losing the black vote is that there are more and more 18 to 35 black voters? We're seeing that he wrote the 94 crime bill. I've seen several interviews where that's mentioned. Yeah, that's fascinating. Yes, I do. I agree with you on that. And again, what it further underscores is both Biden and the Democrats, complicity with an establishment class, an aristocratic class that seeks to rule for its own benefit at the expense of the rest of us. It uses us as cattle, literally, for their own enrichment and affluence. So it just further identifies him as I'm a champion of the middle class. I'm a champion of minority. Yeah, BS. You're a champion of their votes. That's how you are. But you do the bidding of the donor class, and the donor class wants something like a 94 crime bill passed. It's going to get passed. Again, we have the Princeton study that I think proves this definitively. If the aristocracy wants legislation, doesn't matter which party's in power, they're going to get it, even if the vast majority of the people don't want it. If the vast majority of people want something, but the aristocracy doesn't, it won't get passed. So Biden is increasingly being seen as one of those, whereas Trump is seen as a bona fide champion. Say, hey, I don't need the aristocracy class. They hate me and I hate them. I got my own billions. I don't need them. I'm doing this for you. So very good, Rock Dog. Well put. Franco, thank you, sir, for the gift. Where do we contribute directly to Trump versus Win Red? Yeah, so I think Win Red is RNC. I think you just go to again, do your research just to confirm, corroborate. But I think you just go to Trump's super PAC, Save America PAC. That I believe goes directly to Trump. Thank you, Franco. Vicky Teen, thank you so much for the gift. Do you think that the trial in Georgia will expose the election fraud? That's the one good thing that I think could come from it. And again, the good news is the vast majority of voters now believe there was fraud in 2020. They recognize that. That's what the Hunter Biden laptop ultimately did, is it proved to the vast majority of people, wow, there really were shenanigans going on in the 2020 election. So a lot of people who weren't convinced they recognize now, okay, all right, so obviously all was not rosy, all was not pristine. So the question again is, if the trial happens and then they call as witnesses all these different people involved and get to grill them, the media's going to do everything they can to spin it, but I think the cat's out of the bag, and I think it's going to convince. Just remember, you don't have to convince everyone. You just have to convince enough for them to say, all right, that's it. Obviously, we have a political establishment in place that's doing everything they can to thwart my voice, my contribution to self-governance. So I think so. Now they're going to do what they can to have it so-called removed from local courts, county courts, to federal courts. That's part of the federalist structure, where technically, if you engage in activity as a federal employee, you cannot be sued by state or local government in that capacity. You would have to be sued by federal court. So they're trying to get it removed from the local court, from the Fulton County Court, to a federal court. And always when that happens, the federal court drops it. The federal court just, they didn't investigate it. They didn't put any time into it. They didn't see anything. They generally just, they're allocating their funds somewhere else. So they're trying to get rid of it. But the lemons and lemonade scenario may be that if this plays out in Fulton County, Trump's team and everyone involved may indeed expose more than anybody in Fulton County, Fannie Willis in particular, would want them to expose. Very good question, Vic. Rock Dog. Dr. Steve, since the judge ruled in Arizona that Maricopa County violated Arizona law in 2022, what do you think would happen to the results of 20 Roe overturned in Arizona? I don't think it's going to happen. It's just not going to happen. They're just not going to do it. As we've seen, these judges are every bit as swayed by politics as anyone else. But I think you still have a chance with 2022, at the very least, Carrie Lake proving and demonstrating that the signature verification process was not followed. Obviously was not. We have videotape of it. And they admit it. They've been admitting openly, well, we have other ways of verifying. It's not just necessarily your signature that's on file in your voter registration. And then this judge said, no, that's exactly how you're supposed to do it. The mail-in ballot must match the signature on file in your voter registration. You don't get to just begin to magically reappear signature sources. So I don't think they're going to overturn it. I doubt. We'll see with 2022. But at the very least, what they'll hopefully do is they'll force a very corrupt system in Arizona and Maricopa County to have to clean itself up, and that'll put us in good position for 2024. The Game Farm, thank you, sir, very much. Thank you. Dozeman Whitfield, thank you, sir, very much. Thank you very, very much for that. Dozeman Whitfield, bringing in foreign illegal, and thank you for the gift again. Bringing in foreign illegals is the oldest trick in the playbook employed by the elites to suppress the working class who oppose their agenda. Coolies for railway strike in British and Northern Ireland to push out the native Irish. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this is obviously orchestrated. This is obviously intentional. And again, it extends to both parties. Donors for both parties love the cheap labor. They love the massive margins that they get as a result of the cheap labor. And they're using the profits they're getting off that cheap labor via those margins to bribe their politicians, to say out of one side of their mouth, oh, I'm all opposed to I'm going to illegal immigration, terrible, Biden, blah, blah, blah. But then on the other side, they don't do a damn thing. They don't do it. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Now, again, to Texas Governor Abbott's credit, he's been doing what he seems to be doing what he can. I have a good friend who's in a Patriot militia, border militia, and he's seen it firsthand. They are doing everything they possibly can to try to secure that border, given Biden's deliberate abdication of his law enforcement responsibilities. But in the end, it is to replace an indigenous working class who believe that they deserve certain rights, that deserve certain treatment, certain privileges for their work. That's what a humane society does, versus just bringing in a new slave class that they can pay $1 an hour. Would be happy to get that, and because they're illegal, don't speak out against it, lest they be deported. So it's a win-win for the permanent political class and a lose-lose for the worker. Absolutely, Dozeman. Thank you for that lovely history lesson as well. Red Z, thank you for the gift. I feel the last 8 years is about to cover up the failure to remove Trump with foreign policy as justification. Yeah, I think you're right. I do. I think you're right. Ukraine has been a playground for Victoria Nuland and the State Department and our DC elite since 2014, the Maidan Revolution. It's been a playground for Biden and his corruption with Hunter and Burisma. And they've been doing everything they can to sort of cover all of that up. And I think they've been orchestrating a lot of events both here and abroad to do just that. Remember, I think it was Mark Twain who said, you cannot be an empire abroad and a republic at home. And what we're seeing the very same dictatorial tactics that much of the world has had to live under via our uniparty, unipolar, globalist regime. Those very tactics now are coming home to roost. So basically, we're experiencing a kind of color revolution here in many respects. But it's the same corruption. It's the same totalitarianism, all in the name of democracy. Yano, good to see you, my friend. Steve, I saw your bloopers. Poor Josh. I have not seen those. I do have to check those out. Josh did put up a new set of bloopers. Yes. With 4 videos a day, we get tons of them, I assure you. Yeah. All right. I'll have to check them out. Thanks, Yano. You're the best. Back, Yano. Dem strategy. I think Hunter would be convicted, then Biden could pardon him this year or following year. It may be. The question, is, Joe Biden could do whatever he wants. It's going to hurt him politically. The Democrats know that. And so the big question is, are they using Hunter as leverage to try to get rid of Joe and try to bring in Michael Obama, Michelle Obama or Gruesome Newsom? That, because they know Kamala's a joke. They know Biden's a joke. And they got to find some kind of plan D, or the big DJT is coming back. That's just, they're at their wits' end at this point. Kenneth, what is your view of Christianity shifting from the West to the global South, especially Africa, which is experiencing a massive growth of the church? Yeah, it's very bad. And thank you for the pound sterling, sir. I missed my time across the pond. You're seeing it, particularly in the Church of England and the Anglican world, where leadership really is moving more to Rwanda and Kenya than it is, from Canterbury. It's a fascinating shift. It's happening via population, as the church is growing faster than population growth in sub-Saharan Africa. And the population growth in sub-Saharan Africa is the fastest growing population growth in the world. So it suggests massive conversions that are happening that are even outpacing the fastest population growth. Nigeria will be, by 2050, bigger than the United States. So they'll estimate to hit over 400 million. They'll probably hit it before 2050. So literally within the next decade and a half, the world is going to change dramatically. And it's largely because of the population shift. The West was 30% of the world's population at the beginning of the 20th century. By 2050, they'll be more around 10%. So it's dramatic shrinkage of our population. That's largely because we became liberal. We adopted, this is Eric Kaufman's thesis from the University of London. We adopted liberal lifestyle values, and that's killed us demographically. All right. Yeah, there's just no way around it. You can't adopt liberal lifestyle values and flourish demographically. Liberal lifestyle values are all about stopping that kind of flourishing. And then you bring in your apocalyptic green philosophy, and having children is considered to be like the worst thing you could possibly do. So we're committing demographic suicide in that sense. But again, the good news is that the population that is still having children, that is still demographically thriving in the West, tends to be a religiously conservative population. So with that, you're seeing the shift in terms of population, but then with the conversion rates that are happening in sub-Saharan Africa, what we're seeing is a different kind of Christianity. And the Christianity of the West is a very rational, very what's technically known as nominalist Christianity. That's really killed it. It's basically turned it into, a really gross form of liberalism. Liberal Christianity is just such a joke because just the frames of reference are just so incompatible with one another. Whereas shifting to Africa, you're going to get much more into a pre-modern, or some would call it even a postmodern Christianity, where Christianity is actually really believed. Its basic cosmic architecture is embraced. So God is on top, the divine is on top, and then you have some kind of class, social class that is able to that is ordained to discern and define the will and the nature of God. And then you have some kind of political class underneath that seeks to enact that will in social policy. You have a military class, and then you have your artisans and your scientists and everything like that, actually more spread out below. What we've done in the West is we turned that upside down. We've put the technocrats on top, and we've put the theologians at the very bottom. So whenever we talk about any social issue, any cultural issue that's being discussed, they'll talk to this expert and that expert and this pundit and that pundit. But pastors, ministers, priests, nobody cares. Nobody has cares about their opinion. That's liberal Christianity. And in fact, that's a modern liberal Western Christian. That's what it's turned into. What's happened in Russia, what's happening in sub-Saharan Africa is that cosmic pyramid is being restructured and placed back on top, so that God's back on top, and some kind of priesthood, as it were, some kind of clergy to discern the divine meaning and purpose is on top. And that's why our politics around the world are going from geopolitics to theopolitics. So that Islamic societies and the Hindu national society and the Eastern Orthodox sphere of Russia and sub-Saharan Africa are all meeting each other, interestingly and ironically, more in these classical wisdom, eternal-based frames of reference, where their clerical classes are much more active in international affairs than they've been probably in a century. It's really, really fascinating stuff. So I think that's probably the biggest significance, is that we're going to see a new conservative pre-modern Christianity rise up again that then contributes to a geopolitical world. So there you go, Kenneth. Excellent. Great question. Servant of God, welcome back, my friend. Thank you for the gift. So Russia's looking like the winner. The petro dollar is dying, and Kerry Lake is winning. Yeah, that pretty much that should have been my title for the video. That's pretty cool, Servant of God. If Vivek is a plant, the establishment should be pushing him via interviews that make him look good. Have they? I don't know. I'm letting things play out with Vivek. As you know, I think we brought up last week. I'm letting things play out a bit with Vivek, and we'll see. He's doing well. I mean, again, I'm not, if there's a clash between what he was and what he is, Trump had to overcome that, right? So I'm willing to give the guy the chance. I don't know if he's a plant. I don't know. We'll see. It's gonna have to work itself out. But you're right. Russia is, more and more and more legacy media outlets are slowly admitting Ukraine is not going to win this. Ukraine is going to be a loser, and they don't know what to do. They're recognizing that now, with BRICS incorporating 3 OPEC nations within its sphere, the petrodollar is gone. That is a new fossil. And then Kerry Lake is, just that last decision by that judge. Was it Yavapai judge? Do I say that right? You guys in Arizona know. Yavapai County judge, that last decision, it said it all. The way they've been conducting signature verification is illegal, according to the Arizona Constitution. So Kerry Lake has every bit of standing to contest that election. So, yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out. Thank you, servant of God. Lord Niblick, just wanted to say hi and keep up the great work. And God bless the Secret Service heroes protecting Trump. Amen, Lord Niblick. Amen. And thank you for the gift. Thank you. And a hi to you as well, and to yours. Charles Turner, you're back, my friend. Mountain state counties, which are skiing, snowboarding areas, and vote blue while having high incomes. Blaine County in Idaho. Teton County, am I saying that right? Wyoming. I didn't even know Wyoming had a blue county. Summit County, Utah. I know Utah. Pitkin County, Colorado. Dems are party of the 1%. That's it, Charles. And I think and we have new studies coming out showing that corporate America has left the Republican Party in mass and has joined up with the Democratic Party. We've got the data on that. And in a sense, that's good news, because now, again, they're getting more and more exposed as the party of the 1%. And if you can convince the other 99% of that, you have, remember, Democrats were always masterful being able to paint Republicans as the party of the rich, the party of the affluent, the party of the 1%. So forth. That's what what's his name? Bernie Sanders was just hammering Republicans on all the time. Elizabeth Warren does that. AOC does that. They are more and more being seen and exposed as the aristocrat party. They're being seen as the party of the political class. And the more and more people see that, their days are done. Thank you, Charles. Frickin' Brian, thank you for the gift. Isn't Biden winning only 2 of the bellwether counties in 2020 enough of a red flag that there was election shenanigans? Yeah, frickin' Brian, man. Bringing that back. That's right. I think, if I recall, there's about 17 or 18 bellwether counties where the candidate that won the majority always ended up winning the election. The one exception was 1960, if I recall, when that was blatantly stolen by John Kennedy's father down in Texas. That's where Lyndon Johnson comes in and all that sort of stuff. So there was some serious corruption. Nixon knew it. He didn't fight it. And then you have people go, why doesn't Trump just act like Nixon? Because he's not part of the establishment. But if you won a majority of the states, you won. You always won the election. They were bellwethers. And I think there were 18 states. Yes. And yes, if I recall, I thought Trump won 17 of 18. You might have the second one. I thought one was Suffolk County, where I am in Delaware. But that's just because Biden won. So that's explicable. But yeah, there's no question. And there are other bellwethers. The candidate that wins both Ohio and Florida always wins the election since 1865. Again, 1960 being the one exception. Ohio and Florida. Trump won Ohio by 10 and he won Florida by 4. Right. So, and then if I recall, there was another one, Florida, Ohio, and Iowa. If I recall, if you bring Iowa in, same thing. Every election since 1865, no exceptions except for 1960, and of course Trump won Iowa by 10. So yeah, there were way too many shenanigans. Obviously. Hi, Q. Thank you for the pound sterling. Big Mike, Dr. Turley. That's my Big Mike, Dr. Turley. All right. Big metaphorically. My mic goes out to all the world. Thank you, sir. All of you across the pond have a John Smith. Think about me. I miss my John Smiths. We don't get it here in the States. And I just loved sipping a pint of John Smiths at the end of the day for a lovely day in the library. Dozeman Whitfield, thank you so much for the gift, sir. When will the Democrats' weaponization of racism lose its effectiveness? It already has. They are stuffing the illegals in largely low-income areas in New York City and Chicago. They will never dare put them in the nice towns like Greenwich, Hamptons, where the elites live. It already has, Dozeman. It looks like it's finally broken. What we're seeing with 20% support of Trump among blacks, that's gigantic. Again, that's double what he would have gotten in 2020. So we're seeing, again, it doesn't happen all at once. It takes time, but that's a massive jump from 2020 just in a matter of 3 years. I think they're seeing it. We're seeing it in New York City with Eric Adams turning around saying, look, our city can't survive all of these illegal immigrants coming in here. They're just, the whole cultural Marxist ideology seems like it's just ready to implode. And it's just, we just need that one event to just sort of trigger what we call tipping point. Tipping point theory argues all you need is about 25 to 30% of the population to really, galvanize and support something. And that's enough to tip the rest over to get a majority for a new paradigm. And if 20% of black voters are ready to back Trump, we're almost there. We're almost at a tipping point. So, and then keep in mind, 30% of voters right now are all for Christian nationalism. So there's tremendous overlap because there's many conservative Christian black voters who are very much want a much more Christian nation. So we're almost there. We're almost there. It's going to take time, though. I know. And then the question is how much damage do they inflict in the meantime? Thank you, Dozeman. Abdiel, do you see Trump choosing Kristi Noem as VP? That's the big one right now. So that's the big. She's supposed to endorse him this weekend, today, possibly, formally, and she may end up getting the nod. We'll see. Again, for me, I'm thinking strategically. I'd like to see someone more like RFK because I'm nervous Kristi Noem could be Mike Pence 2.0. I'm just nervous because, she's just part of the establishment. Just makes me nervous, but we'll see. I mean, that might be a very, very good choice. Nicholas Teslick, thank you for the gift, sir. What is your opinion of the great TV series The Chosen, which was brought the Bible to many people around the world who may not have been very religious, including myself? Thank you, Nicholas, for that. Yeah, I mean, I've only seen a couple of, full disclosure, I've only seen a couple of episodes of it, but the episode, and I'm all on YouTube, but the episodes I've seen were very riveting. I thought it was very, very fascinating. I love the camera work, and I found it very dramatic and very engaging. So yeah, very good. I mean, people are going to nitpick and so forth. I see, in a sense, I'm with you. I think we're in a modern age right now, and anything that could sort of reorient us more to a classical conception of reality that has the eternal, the absolute, what's technically called the theoria, the theory. Think of a physics map of the world. You've got your theory, you're literally intangible, eternal, like, numerical theory on the top that then eventually gets enfleshed and worked out in time and space, matter and energy. And so that's just the nature of reality in the way we live. All our words, our physical, tangible words, have some kind of ethereal, higher metaphorical meaning. So we all start with that sunbeam, that light on the top, and then it comes down very mountain-like, very cascading-like. I've heard it likened very much to a Christmas tree. The Christmas tree is a model of reality. And as we just come down more, things get more solid. They get more physical, more secular, for lack of a better term, seculum, via the Latin, worldly. And that's where the scientists and the economists and the merchants and the traders are also supposed to be operating. in a healthy, good, and wonderful way, but within the context of a sense of reality. What wokeness is trying to do is it's trying to kind of brand that architecture with wokeness on the top and this bizarre, strange oligarchy on top, and this clerisy class and these billionaires and bureaucrats trying to refeudalize all of society, but without the sacred, without the absolute, the unquestionable, the eternal. So for me, a series like The Chosen just seems to reorient us to that, and especially the very unique element of Christianity, where that infinite, eternal being, that divine being, becomes flesh, becomes human, actually comes down. The Father sends the Son by the power of the Holy Spirit to become human and dwell among us to restore this sacred cosmic architecture in our lives so that we can be healed and so we can be truly human again. So I'm all for it. It doesn't have to, for me, it doesn't have to be theologically perfect or anything. I'm Eastern Orthodox. So, I'm going to be like, I'm not going to buy a lot of the way they do it, but I'm very happy with what they're doing and how they're doing it and the like. So great, Nicholas. Thank you for that. Thank you so much. Angela, Zero Politics channel. I love it. I love it. Absolutely. Thank you for the gift. Love your analysis and videos, but what I love more is you losing your mind. Oh, I have been doing that of late, have I not? My husband and I get a huge kick out of it. You slamming your papers on the desk the other day was epic. What was that? What was I talking about now? I think it was Adams, wasn't it? Wasn't it Eric Adams who said, we're losing our city because our borders aren't being respected? And it's like, well, what the heck do you think? What's happening to our nation, you idiot? So yes. Those are moments I cannot help myself. My students would always get a kick out of that when I was in the classroom in the academy, and I would just start getting animated and I get worked up, and they were like, oh, he's going for it. He's going to go nuts. This is great. So anyway, there you go. Thank you, Angela. Lord Niblick is back, my friend. Do you see Trump reversing the climate lies so I can have V8 engines back again? I think so. Trump doesn't buy them in the least. Trump sees them, as does Vivek. Again, that's what makes me a little nervous about writing Vivek off. He's just so anti Greenopolis, green apocalypse, something like that. I have to work that one out in my head. He's so against the green agenda. And that to me generally tells me whether or not you're part of the WEF establishment. Are you for the green agenda? Trump, I think so. I don't think you will have I think you have a very, very, very fun 4 years with Trump. And with that, with Lord Niblick, gang, it's an honor as always. How long are we going? Hour and 27-minute live stream. Great, guys. Last week was even longer, 2.5 hours. We were just rocking and rolling with that puppy. You have a wonderful weekend. I've got a great interview with Rich Barris of the People's Pundit, talking about why Trump is stronger now than ever. He gets inside the numbers and shows us the polling. It's going to make you very, very excited. That's the thing. I think everybody, we know they're going to pull every shenanigan on the planet. We know that. But I see one coming. We know that. But let's make sure we are charging ahead, knowing that we have the full force of the populist wins behind us. That's very important for our confidence. Mr. Midas. Hello, Steve. You're always promoting the parallel economy. I'm wondering if it can work for small B2B companies, specifically software. Yes. B2B, I'm wondering if Red Balloon has any resources on that. Redballoon.work, Andrew Krabichet's organization. I think Andrew does a lot of B2B stuff. And they have an entire business directory. And then I'm assuming it's not just employee to business, but it's also horizontal. It's working business to business as well. So yes, but that is an admittedly underdeveloped, at at the level of analysis, talking about businesses, parallel businesses working with other parallel businesses. That's very good. Check out, send them an email. Tell them you're a friend of this channel. You're a friend of mine. and just see if they have any resources of B2B resources. Resources for B2B networking among Patriot businesses. That'd be awesome. That's a great idea. Thank you, Mr. Midas. Servant of God. Oh, you guys are coming back. I thought my weekend was starting. No problem. I'd rather be with you guys. Ever got any idea of a good governor candidate from Minnesota? Mike Lindell, right? Well, maybe Mike might do something there. I've really lost the you guys put in a Republican periodically, but they always seem to be such establishment hacks. I'd have to think about that one. I just no one comes to mind from Minnesota. Again, I would love to see the same dynamics that are happening around Michigan and Wisconsin and really begin to seep into the Minnesota vote. Very strong populist sentiment there with the farmer party tradition. If it could be revamped around a Trumpian populism and an RFK populism, that'll be enough, I think, to help break the establishment. And that's really, in the end, what we're trying to do. We're trying to break the, it's not right versus left per se, although I think the right has all the momentum. I think it is people versus establishment. We got to break that establishment. Then we can have a wonderful time arguing who'd be better, Trump or RFK, right? Just imagine two populist candidates trying to out-populist each other, right? So such a difference from what Mike Pence said the other day is populism is holding us back. It's not the wave of the future. I mean, how anyone even takes that guy seriously, I have no idea. Thank you, servant of God. All right, gang. With that, have a wonderful weekend. Check out my interview with Rich Barris. You're going to love it. Make sure you go and support him and subscribe to his work. He's amazing stuff. Love his work. Love you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. God bless.